Hi everybody, this is Ellen. In this tutorial I want to show you how to make a Happy Snowman. Now I think this is just going to be like the first version of another because I want to make one that's kind of more like Frosty the Snowman. But this is just like the regular snowman you build outside in your snow. Band wise, it is 450 white, so it's a little band heavy on the white of course. That's not including the scarf that I did with the little tassels because that could be any color. The arms are 24 of them. And then there are some bands down the center for the buttons. Those can be either bands or beads. Probably the 7mm beads would look better, or you can use buttons or something. But that's 6 bands there. And then you have your cheeks, and then your nose is 3 orange. So, for the scarf, I'm going to kind of leave that up to you to decide how you want to make one. I'll give you an idea of how I added the little fuzz to mine, and then I just kind of pulled it through, because you could use any bracelet, any old bracelet that you have. You could use a fishtail. This is kind of like a double fishtail type thing, or so it's any kind of long, skinny, or thick piece you want for the scarf part. So that's kind of where you get to be a little creative or use up something that you've made before. So, but we'll get started. We just have to make a couple things ahead of time, the little arms and the nose and things like that. So, put them over here. So first, start with the face. I'm going to use the 9mm pony beads. If you don't have those, you can use 2 bands, whatever color you want the eye to be, on the hook, wrap them around, grab all the bands, wrap them around again, and then pull through 2 bands the color of your snowman. Like that. So you'd want 2 of those if you don't have the beads. Then we have the cheeks, which are just 1 band, whatever color you want the cheeks to be, on the hook, wrapped around, grab both bands, wrap them around again, and then pull through 2 bands the color of your snowman. Try not to twist them all up. There. So 2 cheeks. And then we have our nose. It's 3 bands, whatever color you want the nose to be. You put it on the 1 band on the hook, wrap it around, grab both bands, wrap it around again, and then double band on your hook, pull it through your cap band, both ends back on your hook, kind of center it, and pull through another doubled band, back on, center it again, and then pull through 2 bands the color of your snowman, like that. So the nose, and then we have the arms, and you have to make 2 of these. We start with the little fingers first, just 1 band, double it again, then we pull through 3 bands that are doubled through this cap band we just made. So 1, 2, and 3. And we want to repeat that 2 more times. So double band into a cap band, and pull through 3 doubled bands. Like that. So that's 2, and then 1 more time. Double a band, pull through 3 more. No, 2 more. Like that. So 3 that are cap band plus 3. Then you'll take 2 bands, double them on the end of your hook, pull them through everything, all your little fingers, and put them back on. And then you pull through 5 more doubled bands. So 2 bands, double it, So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then pull through 2 bands the color of your snowman, like that. So you'll want to get all those pieces ready ahead of time. I'm going to put my bands through my beads for my eyes when I get there, because they'll go through pretty easy. So we have those ready, and then once you have those, we can start on the snowman. So we have our loom, wrong end towards us, and we're going to start kind of in the center. So my center is now by my base plate, which I don't normally use, but I did crack another pin here, right there. So I'm running out of pin bars, so I'm going to have to order some more. I'm not quite sure why I've been so rough on them lately. Who knows, maybe my kids are in here in the morning and pinching them. So we're going to start, and we're going to start with a starburst. So from kind of in the center, which is around the 7th pin up or so in the center, we'll go from the center pin out to the 6 pins around with 2 bands. Everything's double banded, unless I'd say differently. Like that. Center will get a cap band, be 2 bands wrapped around 3 times. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Then you'll take your hook, go in through that cap band, find the top 2 bands wherever they are, grab them, and pull them back towards themselves. And I've missed one. Like that. And then you just go back to the cap band and find the next top 2 bands, pull them back towards themselves, and do that all the way around. Like that. We do a lot of increasing and decreasing in this, so definitely if you're not as familiar with that, you'll want to start laying your bands where I do when we put them on the loom from now on. I generally start down here at the bottom, so I'll try and be consistent with that. We're going to do a row all the way around, still double banded. Like that. And then you'll flip the bottom 4 over the top of the pin. Like that. And you want to push everything down. And we're going to expand. So we'll start over here on the right. This top pin, I can grab the top 2 bands, lift them up, and they're going to just go up to the next pin up. We'll come down to this lower pin on the right, and for these we have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them down a pin, and then I can bring the top 2 back to the pin that they were on. We'll go over to the left, top left, we have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them up a pin, then bring the top 2 back down. And on the lower left, we can just pick up the top 2 bands, bring them down a pin. For the center ones now, you just grab the top 2 bands, pick them up, and whatever side they're coming from, these are from the left side, you're just going to take them over to the left. So these will be coming from the right, so they'll go over to the right. Same thing up here, pick up the top 2, see what side they're coming from, and take them to that side. Like that. So now we're on 12 pins, 2 bands on each pin. And we're going to do a row all the way around, 2 bands. We always build a snowman every year. We try to make him different each time. Sometimes it's harder when we don't have any snow, or snow is kind of icky for rolling, but so like that. So now you flip the bottom two all the way around. Like that. Push everything down. Next is going to be our eye row, so you'll want your eyes. So starting down here at the bottom, 2 bands, then 2 bands, then we'll have an eye in the next spot. So for my larger beads, I just kind of squish the bands in half, push them through. And then 2 bands, and then another eye. And then we'll do 2 bands around the rest. Last year we had quite a bit of snow, and we ended up making a little ice castle. It was awesome. Pre-planned everything and made blocks and glued it all together with water. It was awesome. So like this. Then you'll put the bottom 4 all the way around. And it's always sad to see it melt away in the springtime because you put a lot of work into it in the cold on the outside. We even used colored water bricks for like little stained glass windows. It's fabulous. Push everything down. Next row we're going to need our cheeks and our nose. So 2 bands. 2 bands. Next spot will be a cheek. Next spot will be our nose. Next spot is another cheek. And then it's 2 bands around the rest. We'll see, we'll probably end up doing something similar again this year just because the kids really thought it was awesome. And I mean, we only put a roof over a little portion of it just to be safe, but like this, flip your bottom 4. Because snow is fun, but it can be dangerous too, so, but they thought it was great. See if we can make it better and grander this year, maybe. Then push everything down. So now we want to put on our mouth. So you'll need a band, whatever color you want your mouth to be. I just kind of turn it away from me. I'll put the band on my hook, double it, and then take it off, holding it double. I'll take my hook down through the bands on this pin that's next to the left eye and cheek. Grab that mouth band, pull it up through, up over the top of the pin, and then pull it down. So now we're wrapped around that pin. Still hanging on to it. I'll go over to the right one, grab the mouth band, pull it up through, up over the top of the pin, and then pull it down. So now we're wrapped around 2 pins. And once you're there, you can flip it up over both pins, like that. Push all that down. Then we'll do a row all the way around with the 2 bands. And we're going to be reducing next, so I want to start where I start. I want to stay in one of those hotels that's made of ice. I think that would be really cool. I don't know if I'd want to be like my vacation necessarily, but I just want to stay in one. Like maybe it's nearby something else I'm doing. I mean, I'm sure it's warm enough, but I don't know. So like that. Flip your bottom 4 all the way around. Push everything down. So now you want to loosen up the center here. Bring your bands in on the end here. Bring these bands in up over the top of the pins on the end. Maybe loosen up your center. That. So now we're going to reduce. So starting on this lower corner down here, if you pick up the top 2 bands, I see that they're coming from over here on the right, so I'm going to take them to the opposite pin. So these 2 that are left on here, they'll be coming from the left, so they're going to go to the right. Then we come up a pin, grab the top 2, see where they're coming from. Mine are coming from above, so they're going to go below, and then the other 2 on that pin will go above. So it's just taking them to the opposite when we reduce. Top 2, they're coming from above, so they'll go below. Other 2 will go above. Come over to the other side, top corner. Top 2, they're coming from below, so they're going to come over to the other side. And these 2 will come below. Next pin down, top 2 coming from below, so they'll go above, other 2 will go below. Next pin down, top 2 coming, make sure you have the top 2. Top 2 coming from below, so they'll go above, and the other 2 will go below. Push all those down. Then we'll do a row all the way around. And they're kind of long stretches between where we have bands on the pins. So just kind of stretch them down. So now when we flip, there's going to be 4 bands that are from the reducing that we did. So you flip those over, and then 4 from the row before. So 8 bands total to flip over. I usually kind of do it half and half, less stress on the hook and the wrist. Flip those over, and as I pass these bands that are wrapped over the pin, I'll just flip them over towards the center. Same thing here. Like that. So now we're on 6 pins, and we are going to actually take the head off the loom. It just makes a nice rounder head than the expanding now again. So once you're here, start at one of the kind of far out corners, put your hook in, take the bands off, and just kind of go around. Stay kind of close to the loom. Go around. around until you have them all on your hook. And pull 2 bands through everything that's on your hook. Get all the way through, both ends on, make a slip knot, pull tight, and you can hide your tail. And you'll need to squish his head round and give it a stretch. So I'm just kind of squishing it nice and flat and then grabbing it and pulling. So we get a nice round head. You may have to adjust some of the bands down here where we did the reducing, but I wouldn't worry too much about that until the end when he's all put together. Just makes it a little easier. So now, I'm going to go back to the loom. We need to get our head back on there. So to do that, I'm going to squish with my thumb on the face and my other finger on the back. And if you think about this being that hexagon pattern, you have the centers that came out this way, and you had 2 bands that came out kind of in a triangle, I guess. So what you want to do is take your hook and get under those center bands on one end, pull through 2 bands, put both ends on your hook, then come over to the other side where the center band is, pull through 2 bands again, put both ends on your hook. And I always seem to pop out my tail band, but that's alright. So now we're like this. So if you did exactly like I did, then I'm going to turn my loom so the wrong end is over here on my right. And what I'll do is I'll take those first 4 bands that are on the hook, or the first 2 bands right there, and they're just going to go on the center area of our loom. So right here. So those first 2 right there. So I still have the other 2 on my hook, and they'll go right next to it. Yeah. Trying to hide my tail band again so it's not distracting. And if yours pops out, you can fix it at the end as well too. It doesn't have to be right now. Alright, well, we got one. Alright, so now that we're here, you should just be able to pick up the top 2 bands on each pin and stretch them across the loom. And once you've done that, the head should be able to be flipped towards the center. So it looks like that. So once you're there, that's probably one of the most difficult parts, I think. So once you're there, we'll be good to go for the rest. So we'll do a row around our 4 pins, 2 bands, like that. Flip the bottom 2 bands all the way around. Push everything down. Now we want to expand, so we're going to expand the top right corner, and if you put your bands on the same way that I did, you'll be able to pick up the top 2 bands on this pin and just bring them towards the center. Then we're going to expand the lower left corner. For this one, we have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them to the center, and then grab the top 2 bands and bring them back towards the outside, like that. Push everything down. We're now on 6 pins. Make sure too that your face is facing towards the right. So we'll do a row all the way around. Again, we're going to expand after this, so starting in the same spot will be helpful. 2 bands. Like that. Then we'll flip the bands underneath. This one right here will be 4, and then 2 on the side here, and then 2 in the center on the bottom. On the front, it's 4, and 2, and then 2 on the top center. Push everything down. Now we're going to expand again. So starting over here on the right side, the top one, we can pick up the top 2 bands, bring them up. The lower one on the right, we have to pick up all 4, bring them down a pin, bring the top 2 back up. We'll go to the left side, we have to pick up all 4 bands, bring them up, bring the top 2 back down, and then the lower pin, you can grab the top 2 bands and pull them down a pin. And then again for the centers, just pick up those top 2, see which side they're coming from, and bring them to that side. So top 2, or top 2, we're going to go over to the left, and the other 2 will go over to the other pin. So we're again on 6 pins on each side with 2 bands on each pin. So we're going to do a row all the way around, 2 bands, like that. Flip the bottom 2 all the way around. Then you want to push everything down. And then next, we're going to do the arm row next. I actually have it down a row on my example that I made, but I'm going to move them up one because I just think it'll look a little bit cuter. So I'm just telling you this ahead of time so that if you like them where they are right now, they're going to go on the next row, and I will tell you that. But I'm going to move my arm up just 1 row on the one I'm doing here, just because I want to see. Just so it's a little closer to the scarf. I guess that's kind of where my thinking was on that one, but I just wanted to tell you that I couldn't decide until just now that I'm doing that. So I'm moving it up a row. If you don't want it here, if you want it here, wait till the next row and I'll remind you. So arm right here on the end, then 2 bands all the way across the front. Then our other arm. If you want. And then 2 bands all the way down the back side. Like that. Then we'll flip the bottom 4 all the way around. I know it's weird to switch something in the middle of a tutorial, but I think I've done it a couple times before where I just think something will look better. Sometimes I don't tell you and I just do it, and other times I tell you, so this time I'm telling you. Alright, push everything down. So now, if you want the arms like this snowman, you'll put them on just like we did this last row. We're also going to be adding a button this row. So you can, like I said before, either use wrapped bands. You can use like the smaller pony beads, I think would look better. It's kind of up to you. I'm going to use wrapped bands, and it's just, I use 2 bands on the hook, wrap them around, and I grab all of them, wrap them around again. It's kind of just, it's just like making the eyes. And then I'll take 2 bands and pull them through like that. So those are my buttons, and I'm just making them as I go along with the snowman. So, and like I said, you can use buttons or beads, bands, whatever you want for them. So this row, if you want it like this snowman, you put your arms on now, just reminding you. Otherwise, it's 2 bands along until here, and then in the center right here we'll put our little button, or a piece of coal rather, and we'll do 2 bands all the way around the rest, except for if you want your arm down like that snowman, then your arm will go on the end right here. I hope that's not annoying that I did that, but I just have to see how it looks different. In every example that I made for myself before in my practicing, I'd always put it down lower, but I'd be like, maybe I should put it up higher, I don't know. I get goofy sometimes. So like that, flip the bottom 4. That doesn't really change any of the other aspects about the row, so. That. I'm just going to kind of tuck this stuff all in towards the inside now. Push everything down. Then we're going to do a row all the way around. Again, 2 bands. This year we'll probably end up making like an Olaf snowman or something, just because we kind of do things that coincide with whatever the kids are crazy about at the time. Last year was the Minions, so we made a Minion snowman. It was adorable, except for it was all yellow snow, but so like that. Flip the bottom 4. Push everything down. Now we're going to do another row, and we're going to again add another button or piece of coal, however you're looking at it. So I'll make mine again with bands. Have that ready to go. So 2 bands. So there, and then we'll put our button in the center again, or coal. And then 2 bands around the rest. Hope you like my green felt. It's left over from a project I'm doing. Like that. It's going to be with my kiddos, and I am going to share it with all of you. Kind of excited, kind of nervous, because I don't know if you guys will like it or not, but I enjoy doing things with my children, and I thought this would be fun and cute, so hopefully. A 2 and a 4-year-old, you can't really expect them to give you exactly what you want when you're filming, so it's just kind of like you either get it or you don't, so hopefully they get it. Alright, push everything down. So now what we're going to do is reduce everything. So, starting down here on this lower right pin, again we just pick up the top 2 bands. You see which side they're coming from. These are coming from the top right over here. So they're going to come over to the opposite side. Then the other 2 bands will go to the opposite pin. So then we'll go up a pin, grab the top 2, they're coming from above, so they're going to go below. The other 2 will go above. Next pin, and generally there's a pattern all the way around, so here they're coming from above like before, and then the other 2 go above, come over to the other side, top 2, go over to the other side, other 2 will come down, next pin down, top 2, go up, bottom 2 will go down, next pin down, coming from the bottom, so they'll go above, and other 2 will go down. Push all of them down. So now we're on 6 pins, and we're going to do a row all the way around with 2 bands. And there are kind of long stretches in between where the bands are on the pins, so just be aware of that. And although it's, hold on, I'll tell you in a moment. So like that. So when we flip, again, just like before, we had the 4 bands from the reducing to go over, and then the 4 bands from the row before to go over the top. I'll tell you right now, we're not going to take this off the loom again, so don't get worried about that. But here we have, again, 4 bands over, flip those towards the center. Just do like we did before when we were doing the head. And again. Alright, and you probably want to kind of pull them up a little bit. Don't pull, I mean you could, it shouldn't break or anything, but it'll stretch it out a little bit. Don't pull on the head to pull it out. Use your hook to kind of get down in there, grab the bands and pull them up over the top of the pins. So it helps them kind of come up just a little bit. Push everything down. Don't worry, it's going to be a little loose because we got to tighten those bands up, and he looks weird with his, he looks like a square right now. Don't worry, it gets better, I swear. Or I don't swear, that'd be bad. So what we want to do now is we're going to expand everything. I know. So starting on this pin over here on the lower right, you'll grab the top 2 bands, and they're going to come, actually I'm going to grab all 4 bands. We're going to pull them down so we can even it out a little bit better. All 4 bands pulled down. I'm going to grab the top 2, pull them back up. And then for this pin up here, we'll grab all 4 bands, pull them down again, grab the top 2, pull them back up to the pin they were on. And this one's a little harder to be exact because with the reducing and the flipping of so many bands, it's harder to tell what's the top and what's the bottom. So I mean, really, as long as you end up with 2 bands on these 6 pins on each side, you'll be fine. But I'm trying to get it exact. Again, I'm going to pick up all 4 of these bands, pull them back, and then bring the top 2 back up. Top 2, not top 3. Like that. So 6 on that side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. For here, pick up all 4, bring them up a pin, and I'll bring the top 2 back. Come down to the next one, bring them up a pin, grab the top 2, bring them back to the pin they were on, and then for this bottom one, we can just pick up the top 2 bands and bring them up to that empty pin there in the center, or in just the empty pin. That's better. Like so. So now we have 2 bands, 12 pins, 6 pins on each side. We're getting to be almost done, so it's okay. So we're going to do a row around again. We are going to have another button for this row. So I'll make one. Like that. So we'll start down here because we are going to expand one more time. So if you need help with that, start down here and go up 2. Button in the center. I don't know why I keep calling it a button. It's cool. I guess it depends on your story. Like that, and then 2 bands around the rest. So I was going to say earlier, if I can remember it all now, my little Grayson has decided that poopy is a favorite word of his lately. So it's, hey poopy mama, hey poopy chair, hey poopy cat, hey poopy whatever. So row all the way around, and we'll flip the bottom 2 bands on every pin. And we figure he picked it up from preschool because he's there now. He's getting so old in school, and so it's like we have to remind him to be nice and say nice words, and it's so we kind of talked to his teacher about it because we had a conference with her the other night, which went awesome, actually. So fabulous. So like that, and then we're going to expand again. So what we're going to do is move back these first 3 pins back a pin. So I'm going to start right here, grab all 4 bands, move them down a pin. Go up to the next one, grab all 4 bands, move them down a pin. And then go up to the next one again, move them down a pin. And then once you're there, you'll grab the top 2 on that one you just moved down and bring it up to that empty pin. Like that. Then we're going to go up to the very top on the right side, grab the top 2 bands, pull them up. Like that. Then we'll go to the other side, and we're going to move these first 3 pins back a pin. So I'll grab all 4, pull them back on the first 3 pins, push all those down. So then that last one that we just moved, I'll pick up the top 2, bring them back down to the pin they were on. Then we'll go to the very first pin on the left side here. We'll pick up all 4 bands, move them down a pin, and then bring the top 2 back to the pin they were on. Like that. So no more expanding after this, but we do need to do a few rows. 3 to be exact. So it's just 2 bands all the way around for 3 rows. And after the 3rd row we will be reducing, so I'm always going to start here if you want to copy that. So this is our 1st row. But we talked to his teacher about the poopy and the language at school, and because he said some other words that definitely did not hear at home. And she said that poopy is a favorite word for the preschoolers to use, and they just instill that that word is used for in the bathroom, and it's not a word to be used in the classroom. And she said there are some kids that she thinks asked to go to the bathroom just so they can go in there and say poopy. And I'm just like, kids are hilarious, because, you know, they figure out ways to get everything done that they want to do. And so like that, roll all the way around. So when we flip, some of these will have 4 and some will have 2. So 4 here, then 4 again, and then 2 on the next 2 pins, 4 on the next 2, and then 2 on the last 2 here on the left. So there's 4 bands left on all the pins on the left side, and that's the same thing you do on the right side, it's just opposite. So 2, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 4, and 4. Push all those down. Then we'll do our 2nd row all the way around. Same thing, 2 bands. I'm starting down here. So we started telling Grayson that to use that. It's only a bathroom word, and I'm hoping it will go away. I mean, it's not a swear word, so it could be worse. But it's still not very good when he's like, "Hey, poopy grandma." It's like, no, 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 we don't say that. And so I'm hoping with the holiday coming up that he'll have forgotten it by then, but because he doesn't have school next week at all. So there's our 2nd row all the way around, and then you can flip the bottom 4 on all of them. Which I think is crazy. My kids don't have school at all this Thanksgiving week coming up, which is really weird because I don't think it's ever been that way. It's usually they have Thursday, Friday off, and maybe Monday, but generally it's just Thursday, Friday. But this time they have the entire week off. I'm just like, it's weird. And then of course I think that they shortchanged our Christmas break or winter break, however you look at it, I guess, and so it's a couple days shorter than it normally is. I'm just like, oh. So now it's, you know, we don't really, almost everybody else works, or seems like everybody else, the cousins that the kids have, they all have school until Wednesday. So like, we can't really do anything or go anywhere with them ahead of time to go see family because they're all still working and busy. So my husband still works, so it's kind of odd, I think. So like that, that's our 2nd row. We'll do our 3rd row all the way around, 2 bands. So hopefully they won't get too rambunctious on me. And my oldest, although he just broke his foot again, I don't know how he keeps doing it. The paranoid mom in me is like, what's wrong with your foot? Why do you keep breaking it? And he's doing it on such simple things that I'm just like, how do you... Because he like, the first time he was walking down a step and he landed wrong and broke his foot. And then this time he was turning out of a chair and he stubbed his toe. And so it's like, he ended up breaking, it's more of his toe, but he still can't walk on it. So it's like, how do you do that? So here's our 3rd row, flip the bottom 4. So we've got, so he's not very happy, but he still is going to go hunting He's going with his grandma right now. I know it's weird, the grandma hunts, and so it's, but he's going to hopefully be alright with that and won't be too difficult or miserable for him. Depends how cold it gets, I think, and if they have to do a lot of walking. But it does mean that he doesn't get to do basketball now, because he's out of commission for 6 weeks. So he's not very happy about that at all. Alright, so that was our third row all the way around. Now we need to reduce again. So this time we're going to reduce the 4th pin up. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll find the top 2. They should be coming from above, so you'll take them below. Then grab the other 2 on that pin and take them above. And then we'll come up to the very top pin on the right. Tuck these over first. Then grab the top 2. Bring them down. And then the other 2 are going to come over to the other side of the loom. Like that. And now, starting at the top, we count down 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for this one, we'll grab the top 2. They're coming from below, so they're going to go above. And then the other 2 will go below. And then we go down to the very beginning. Tuck this in again. Grab the top 2. They're coming from over here above, so they're going to come over to the other side. And then the other 2 will come up. So you should be on 12 pins again on each side. Push all those down. Then we're going to do a row all the way around with 2 bands. So a couple long stretches and a few spots, but then there's a couple normal spots like right here. We are almost done, so hang in there. There's a long stretch. Normal. Like that. Then on the pins that have, some of them have reducing bands, some of them don't, but you just want to flip everything underneath the top 4. So up here, there's 2 reducing bands, and then 4 from the row before. Next one down has 4 bands to flip. Next one down has 2 reducing bands to go over, and then 4 bands below. And then again, down to the next one, reducing bands, and then the row before, and then 4, and then reducing bands in the row before. Tuck that on the inside. And then come over to the other side. We have reducing bands, and then the row before. 4, reducing band, 4, reducing band, 4, flip that over, reducing band, 4, and then there's a reducing band on the corner pin with the 4 below. Like that. So now you want to push everything down. Then if you grab the body of the snowman, you can kind of pull it up. You might need to use your hook to unhook a few things on the ends, because you want to get all of this tucked up over that next pin up. Like that. Same thing down here. Push everything down. Now we're going to reduce again, and we're just going to do it without moving anything. I think you should be fine. So starting down here on this lower right, you grab the top 2 bands, and they're coming from the right over here, so we're going to take them over to the left. I'm kind of going around that pin there. Then the other 2 will come up. Next pin up, and this will be a stretch. Top 2 are coming from above, so they're going to come below. And the other 2 on the pin will go above. Next pin up, top 2 coming from above, so they're going to go below. Other 2 will go above. We'll come over to this corner pin up here on the top left. Grab the top 2. If I can see them. I have so much light going on here that it's like, it blinds me, but it's great. So top 2, they're coming from the left, so they're going to come around to the right. And the other 2 will come down a pin. Next one down. Top 2 coming from below, so they'll go above. And it's kind of a stretch, might be pulled kind of tight. And you grab the other 2, and they're going to come down. Another stretch. I'll go down to the next pin. Top 2 coming from below, so they're going to go above. And the other 2 will go below. So you want to push everything down. So now we're on 6 pins total, 3 on each side, and there's kind of a long stretch between 2 of them. But we'll be fine. We're just going to do another row all the way around with 2 bands. Just doing those long stretches. Long stretch. Most bands can stretch over 4 pins, so not too worried about it. Long stretch. And like that. So then you go around and you'll flip there'll be 4 reducing bands, and then 4 from the row before on all the pins to flip. And when you pass these, you can take them towards the center. Like so. And you want to push everything down. And now we're ready to take them off the loom. So I'm going to kind of start just on one of the corners and then go around. Keep your hook kind of close to the loom. Just taking them off, putting them on my hook. Stay close to your loom as you go around. I kind of pull the bottom every which way, holding on close to the end of the hook there. And I'll grab 2 bands, pull them through everything on the end of my hook. Try not to snag a bunch of other bands. Both ends on, do a slip knot. Pull tight, and then hide your tail band. And then you want to give the bottom portion a tug. Stretch it out. Stretch out the middle portion. Stretch out the head if you didn't before, or you need to again from squishing it around on the loom. And then there'll be a couple things you want to look at after you're done. One is up here on the neck. It's not a huge deal if you put a scarf on, but if you're not going to, then you just want to go up there and tighten up some of the bands. Just pull them out so that it makes the head come down closer to the body. I'm just grabbing bands in the neck area and pulling them tight. It's just because we did that stretching with those bands to put it on the head. It loosens up a little bit. If only rubber bands were not stretchy. Like, you know, yarn. Might need to kind of poke around in the head a little bit where we have the reducing bands along the edge to fix up any unevenness there. The other part is in the body where we reduce to get to the next section. You might have to take some of the, or get your hook in there and kind of where the reducing part kind of meets up, pull those back together. It just depends on how much you were pulling on them or moving them around on the loom. Then your last button on here likes to be a little crooked from the reducing that we did right before that. So you just kind of have to pull it over more towards the center. Not a huge deal, but just something I noticed. My button looks kind of goofy all by itself. I need to loosen up my bands here. So when it gets pretty, it was meant to be kind of the bottom more flat when you're, so it'll sit. The arms, they're poking up. You just need to grab the top with either your hand, grab the edge of them, and just kind of rotate the brown bands for the arm down or whatever direction you want them to be. You can use your hook, stick that in there, on the top of the arm bands, and just kind of pull them to reposition the arm whichever way you want. Like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test with my scarf here. So I'll tell you my scarf was, it's all double banded. I'll show you how I started it, tell you how I did the rows, and then you can kind of either use this or, like I said, there's tons of, just use a fishtail, anything that you want to make that scarf. So I'll show you how I did it first, and then I'll show you how I put it on to the snowman. So I started with the little tassel ends, and I kind of just picked a random number for my little kind of fluffy end part. Just took a band, wrapped it around. I think I used 5 or 6 of them. Like that. Then I take 2 bands, that same color, pull them through, and then I put it on the loom. And then I'll do that again. So 5 or 6 of them. I take 2 bands of the same color, pull them through. Put that on the loom right next to it. Like that. Doesn't really matter left or right or what's on top or what's on bottom. So like that. And then I took the colors that I wanted for the scarf. And I put them on, alternating them. So first I'll put on some pink, and then I'll just flip. You can flip them either way, but I usually flip the middle first. And I double banded this, you don't have to. You might have to make a few more rows than I did, but it's kind of up to you how thick or how thin you want it. I doubled it, you don't have to. but you will have to make probably a few more rows if you single band it. So I usually start in the center. I grab those bottom 4, pull them over, then grab the 2 on the bottom on the outside. So I think it's like considered a double fishtail type thing. So I push those down. Then I just went to a different color for a row. Again, did the center and the outside. And I just kept alternating my colors until I had 10 rows of each color. Doesn't take a super long time. But there's tons of different options. You could make one that's like a single chain with a ton of loose wrapped bands on it, so it's kind of fuzzy and furry. So in total, the scarf, the way that I made it, was 33 white bands and then a 40 each of red and green. So you can definitely choose different options if you don't want to have it be super band heavy. And I think now that I've started, I'm just going to finish this because I just can't leave things unfinished, and I need another scarf for my other snowman anyways. I'll probably fast forward here in a moment when I do my editing so that I can at least show you how I closed it, so that it's, if you want to make one similar. But it's just alternating rows until you have, in my case, it'll be 10 rows of purple and 10 rows of pink. I'll show you how to count the rows too. So it's just, so this one so far I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of pink and 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of purple. So I still need 6 more rows of each color to make this scarf this way. So I'll fast forward and then I'll show you how to close it. Alright, so once you get to having 10 rows of each color, or 20 rows in total is what I use for mine, you'll again go back to your fluffy color at the end, put your bands on, your hook, and then again pull through the same color as your fluff. Put those on. Same thing again. Like that. So then what I did was I flipped over the last color over the top, pushed everything down, then I took the outside bands, brought them over to the center band, other 2 on the outside, brought over to the center, then I flipped the bottom 4 over the top 2. So center's in, and then flip the bottom 4. And then with what I had left on here, just took it off the loom. Get my other bands out of the way. So I had this. Then I just pulled the 2 farther away through the 2 closest on my hook, make a slip knot basically. Then I started kind of pulling out my fuzz so I could see where it was positioned. And you might have to kind of adjust how they're pulled through on things so it looks the best. Like that. Looks pretty good. So then I just found a place in there somewhere to put my hook back through. Took a band, pulled it through everything on my hook, made a slip knot, and you kind of have all this fuzz at the end. So I take the tail band from my fuzz, sticking my hook up through the center of all those bands that we pulled on, and I just pulled it through so it kind of comes out on the side, so it looks like fuzz too. You can pull it in tight, you can rewrap it however you want, and just stretch it out. So that was how I made my scarf. So then once we have it, you kind of wrap it around and gives you an idea of where it's going to come to the other side. So what I did is I just took, so about the 1, 2, 3, the 4th or the 5th spot up, we'll go the 5th. I just went and pulled the fuzz, or pushed the fuzz part through one end. Just kind of pulling it through the center, like that. Just stretch it back around the neck. Like that. So I'll put this one back on, and you can tell me if I messed up the arms or not. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right around the 5th. Yeah, we'll put their scarf on the other side. So like that. Stretch it around. So, which way is better for the arms? What do you think? Lower, higher? I think I'm going to go with higher. But your little body needs a little adjustment. Alright, so we are done making our snowman with our scarf, which I guess I should have just said all along I was going to do it, because I can't. I was going to make it anyways, so might as well have just made it. Alright, so adorable snowman. Like I said, I think I'm going to make another one that's more frosty-ish, possibly. We'll see how time goes. Everybody has lots of requests for at this time of year because they want to make something gift-wise for a family member, and some things are crazy, but other things are doable, just need the time to do so. But I want to thank you very much. I hope you like these adorable little snow people, because this one's a girl, so it's not a snowman. But I hope you enjoy them. I hope you think they're adorable, like always, because that's what I aim for. There, better. But thank you very much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you make some of these cuties and use them in your holiday decorating, don't forget to show your pictures and share them with me on my Instagram, which is at Crafting Fantastic, my Facebook page, which is Feelin' Spiffy, and also don't forget to give my videos thumbs ups and comments and all those good things that help other people find them. So you guys are what makes it all happen. So I definitely appreciate that, and I will have more tutorials for you soon. Happy looming!